Got to be honest and candid here. As an author, having a book banned is probably a wonderful thing, but it has repercussions. It can be dangerous, it can be frightening, and often people further down the line can be attacked. Salman Rushdie, for example, some of the translators of his book and people who sold the book were murdered. Irshad Manji, a famous, iconic author who's spoken about Islam and feminism and liberty, and an old friend, and it's always a pleasure to see her again and chat to her. She's in New York right now. How are you?
Well, now that I'm back in New York and away from Southeast Asia, I am much more serene. The craziness here is, Michael, that, I'm now finding a lot more calm being back in New York than being abroad. And you know what New York is like, so you must know what my book tour would have been like.
Well, I was reading about it at some length, and I've got to say, and we've known each other for a long time, I'm not saying this to buddy you up, your courage is incredible, because you were in places where there were extremely violent people, and there you were standing your ground. You were in, what, Indonesia and Malaysia?
That's right. And in Indonesia, my team and I were physically assaulted by Islamist extremists who sent one of my own team members to the hospital for injuries and 4 others with head injuries. And then we get to Malaysia, and lo and behold, we find that my book is banned. But as you know, the saga does not end there. Just the other day, we learned that in Kuala Lumpur, which is the capital of Malaysia, a Borders bookstore manager was arrested and is now languishing in jail, get this, for selling the book before it was officially banned.
This is incredible. I mean, at various levels. First of all, he's a manager. I doubt if he's actually personally ordering. He's probably listening to people above at a more national level. It was before it was banned. Now, I assume he's a Muslim because probably non-Muslims in the country, and there are many, could not be charged under this law. Am I right in that?
You are right in that. Let me just clarify that actually the manager is a woman, and but you are right that she is Muslim, and it is such an insightful point that you make, that in the Muslim majority country of Malaysia, Muslims are subjected to 2 types of systems of justice, one being the secular civil system and the other being Sharia courts. And so it is under the Sharia court system that this Muslim bookstore manager was targeted. So if she had been, for example, a Chinese Malay, a non-Muslim, she would have been okay. But because she is Muslim, she is now extra vulnerable to the whims of Islamic authorities. And so what you have in Malaysia, crazily enough, is a system in which Muslims have fewer rights than non-Muslims. Yeah. And this is the segregationist logic that is alive and well in a country that, claims to be all about pluralism and diversity.
Yes, and when people accuse you or me of being Islamophobic, for goodness sake, most of the victims of this are Muslims. But then you made this point, and it's absolutely central, because we're told over and over again that Malaysia and Indonesia are the 2 countries that have got it right. These are moderate, pluralistic Islamic countries. What you're saying is that ain't true.
Well, it was true at one point, but I can honestly tell you that only a few years later, it has become quite untrue. And back to Indonesia for a quick second. This is the world's largest Muslim majority country. It has a secular constitution. There was a time when I could go to Indonesia just 4 years ago with a book with a far more provocative title than Allah, Liberty, and Love and be warmly received, Michael. But only 4 years later, most of the places where I was supposed to have presented in Indonesia canceled my events for security reasons, and we found that even the police have become complicit in the in the actions of the radicals. At one point, the very first public event I did in Jakarta, when we were scurried away from the event because extremists were now at the door. Yeah. My team and I arrived at a brand new hotel with a much more security to it, and somebody told us that the office of the Jakarta police chief had just tweeted out the hotel that we had arrived at. Okay? So how's that for safety and security?
It's incredible. And what is so fundamentally worrying is that if you look at the trend here, Pakistan, Egypt, Turkey, Indonesia, Malaysia, even Jordan, countries that were relatively pluralistic, or if not pluralistic, moderate, the trend is all in the wrong direction now.
You're absolutely right. It is all in the wrong direction. And what we're finding, at least what I'm finding, is that it's not only because of religion. It is also because many of these governments are caving. They are wanting to sort of show global investors that we have stability in the country.
Right.
So instead of fighting against the radicals who create instability, they are compromising with the radicals, and people, ordinary people whose rights are being trampled on constitutionally, feel that they have nowhere else to turn, because if they do complain to the police, guess what? Since the police is complicit, these are the people who complain, who are going to find themselves, with a raw deal the very next day. Mm-hmm. But if they don't complain, then, of course, the violence continues. So you can see the catch-22 that a lot of Malays and Indonesians find themselves in.
Yeah. How about you personally? Are you prepared to, you've got to take care of yourself. Are you going to travel to these countries again in the near future?
You're darn right I'm going to. I absolutely will. Never allow radicals of any kind to stop me from exercising my free will. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be cavalier and, go with no security.
Sure.
But, Lady Gaga was supposed to be doing her concert in Jakarta very shortly after my book tour there. And she outright canceled because of what is happening, And I say that if you are going to be truly an advocate of anti-bullying, then you can't let extremists or their lackeys among the police and the government bully you into silence. With me, that's never going to happen.
Oh, you know what? Lady Gaga is no Irshad Manji on so many levels. Hey, my love, it's always a pleasure.
From your lips to every conservative's ears, Michael.
It's always such a pleasure. So proud to call you a friend. You take care. We'll have you back soon. Thank you.
I sure will. Thank you, friend. Bye-bye.